the graffiti that we all heard about, I don't think there's any issue. I mean, this campus is not it's not diverse. I think Providence College is working towards it, but I mean, I have no issue. I'm comfortable in the environment, so it's pretty good.
I just want to say yes. I think definitely musicians, the level of comfort that exists between students of color and students of non-color, as well as between the various really multicultural students, stuff like that.
Super well aware, I guess, but I mean, I guess seeing how like they like do stuff with like the dorms, and they don't really like make it a priority to like make people of different races feel welcome or like different ideas feel welcome, and I don't know, just kind of the way things run, just as it's not altogether welcoming.
Am I aware of the the climate here at PC? Yeah, I am. I've heard stories like, well, personally, I had a band here, a jazz band, all black band, argued with security for 40 minutes trying to get into campus so they can perform. Security wouldn't let them on. Had to go through the back for them to come on. Is that really? That's what's gonna happen? Friends that I know got carded in Peterson while they were playing basketball. You need to swipe into Peterson. So how's that? Oh, where's the logic in that one? And like, oh, because they're wearing hoodies, so minorities playing basketball can't go here. That is fucking ridiculous. It's
keep going.
It's the things that go on campus is like people have gotten carded in the library, like, oh, visitor. Like, just because I don't look like the rest of the people doesn't mean I'm a visitor. I definitely go here. It's people do little things and they think that, oh no, like it was just one incident. It's not. No, it's not. It's like every incident just adds up and builds up to the whole climate. No one refuses to view the whole thing for what it is, and I don't think just accepting a whole bunch of minorities onto campus is going to make everything all right. It's going to solve the problems. I feel like you need to have a community talk. That's why you need to have people facilitate and like speak openly about it. It should be incorporated in CIV. There should be. You have 120 people sitting in a room, basically. They're just checking out because no one likes CIV. But if you actually use that time for something with purpose, like, hey, let's talk about race. We have 120 people here for like at least an hour. This could work out. There could be so much more done if we incorporated the things that affect us today in our classes, in our core requirements. Then there would be way more understanding and things. That's the way we can actually fix the racial issues on campus, not just through, oh, let's just accept more minorities, boom, problem solved. It should be talking.
Yeah, I'm aware of a few racial issues within the school. Maybe like I could give one example, like in the Raymond dining hall, you could notice that people segregate themselves in terms of race when they sit with each other. Like most of the kids of color would be sitting with the kids of color, and most of the white kids would be sitting with the white kids. That's just like one simple example of what I see personally.
Yes, there was a graffiti of the N-word in Aquinas, I think. That's the only thing I've actually heard of.
As a member of SOAR, we discuss a lot of issues on campus about people feeling unwelcome, and also people feeling like they are stereotyped in many different ways, in race, for their religion, for their identity in any way. So I think that's a big problem on the PC campus.
I think that they are like racial issues that affect the PC campus. For example, the white boys writing niggers on the bathroom of the boys' dorm. I think that's a big issue. Maybe there's like maybe it was a joke, maybe it wasn't serious, but just a thought of.
Go.
Tension between blacks and whites or Hispanics.
The first thing that comes to mind when I hear racism is definitely being treated differently or denied certain privileges because of one's race, rather than being black or white or Hispanic, whatever. It goes in all kinds of directions. just basically inequality because of who you are or what you.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the word race would be physical or verbal abuse to a person of a different race, whether it be a person of color or a white person. Like, it doesn't really matter, but the first thing that comes to mind is just general abuse of another person because of the way they are or because of the race that they are.
When I think of racism, I think of when people like just think of like a group of people as a certain way and not like try and get to know them and just discriminate for no other reason than their race.
Against black.
What comes to mind when I hear the word racism, the different forms of discrimination that come with it. Racism, I feel like racism should apply to just the different forms of discrimination, such as the LGBT community, women, and just ethnic and racial minorities, and also religious groups. All that are all counts for different forms of racism or discrimination. I think it needs to be embodied in a greater perspective so people understand, because when people hear racism, I think they usually just black and white, but it's not that. There's Hispanics, there's all these different other factors that go into it that people don't acknowledge. That when discussion is brought about race, it should not be, oh, well, I understand, like, we were talking about in my class about black consciousness and all this, but we rarely diverged into like other forms, like other ethnic groups. We was just like black and white, and it does a disservice for people, for individuals to just understand it as a two thing. To simplify it that much, racism is a complex issue that cannot be simplified to just black and white. If you do it like that, then you truly don't understand what racism is.
The first word that comes to mind when I hear racism is ignorance, stupidity, and just plain like childish.
When I think about racism, I think about actions that come out of ignorance, and usually those translate into hate. What people don't understand, what people are taught from other people, translate into really horrible transgressions against our society.
I personally feel like the race issue on campus sometimes is brought up upon because of what we do as like Latinos or African Americans. Like, we can call each other names and everybody else will think that it's probably like fun to call each other, like to call us the same name because we're friends or whatever. But I feel like there isn't a lot of issues with that, but the issues that they have is either because we just show people like the issues, like acting violent or swearing or acting reckless. So that's what I feel.
I feel like race issues on campus are definitely prevalent, even if they're not, even if everyone isn't aware of them. I've personally been,
so I don't know how you felt like.
I don't want to say a victim, but someone who has had to deal with, I guess, racism on campus, and I don't know. I just feel like unless it's happened to you, you're not really aware of it. Or unless you're a part of a particular contingent that it affects, you're not aware of it, which stops people from speaking up against it or saying anything about it for the most part, unless it's brought to everyone's attention.
Honestly, I feel like there isn't a race issue. I feel like there's not that many different like backgrounds than just white kids from like the Northeast. There's basically like, I'd say like 5% like black or Hispanic. So I don't really notice any racial problems.
I think this campus does kind of have a race issue because, I mean, I guess probably because how I see things is how they set up the dorms and how they just kind of put a bunch of people from like that are minorities into one dorm, and like because of that, like they don't it kind of forces them to be in one friend group, which, I mean, because I live indoor, I'm part of that friend group, which I've kind of seen it more than I would see it other times, because I mean I'm not a minority, but because of seeing it like that, like it just seems like kind of like, yeah, out there, like not really like a part of campus as much, you know, like kind of like feel like lower campus is its own campus because it's kind of like separated or segregated, I guess, because I was combining the words from the rest of campus.
I personally feel the race issue on the Providence campus isn't all that bad, but there are a few elements of it that could be worked around. Like, for example, just people generally engaging in more social conversations with each other rather than just people walking past each other without saying anything or like just ignoring each other. But I think the situation isn't as severe as most people think it is.
I feel like one race issue on our campus is this whole diversity initiative and people taking that to understand that it's all about race or it's all about one thing, blacks versus whites. When really, like, race is so much deeper, so much more complex than just what we look like, and like we have so much more to learn than blabbering on about how we want more diversity. Because if you're going to get more diversity, which is more racial diversity, really, in the administration's eyes, from what I understand, you're just going to increase this divide because no one is really welcoming the other. And I don't feel like there's a connection. I don't feel that people are really reaching inside themselves to be diverse.
Comments.
I feel it is kind of uncomfortable talking about race, considering that obviously the school has a minority of black people, but I think if it's brought about in a nice manner, in a good manner, then it won't be hard to discuss, but generally it is kind of uncomfortable when you're speaking of race, just for the fact that you're a minority race.
About race, I definitely don't feel awkward, but I have a very strong opinion when it comes to race, because there are many things that involve race that some people are definitely ignorant about, either because they don't know it or they don't care to know about it.
I don't feel awkward when it comes to talking about race because I feel like it's inevitable and it will always come up in conversation, or you'll always think about it, especially if you're aware of being a minority or you're aware of a minority if you're in the majority. But I don't think it's awkward at all to talk about.
I do not feel awkward with discussing racial issues because it is something that it goes on in the world. Even though it may not be geared towards me, that's probably one of the reasons why it doesn't affect me as much.
I don't know if I would actually say I feel like awkward, but I do feel like I don't want to say the wrong thing, because it could be taken like in the wrong way. Because I mean, like, obviously I don't want to seem offensive. So, but I don't think it's like awkward because it's something that should be discussed, and people shouldn't. I guess you probably shouldn't have the feeling that you think you're going to be offensive, because as long as you're not like being racist or being a jerk about it, and you're just trying to like discuss it, you should. Because I mean, I guess it shouldn't be a sensitive subject because people shouldn't be racist, and if people weren't racist, then it wouldn't be a sensitive subject.
In the beginning, I used to feel awkward. I'm part of an organization called Society Organized Against Racism. I'm currently the secretary of that organization. In the beginning, it felt a little awkward just openly talking about race, like referring whites, blacks, Hispanics, and just like you get kind of like conscious of it as you were referring to it. But now that because I've done it for like a year now, it's becomes like easier to mention race and just to talk about it. So I don't stray away from it when people talk about race. I'm like, all right, let's encourage it. I love arguing. I love debating. It's great, and it's just like we shouldn't try to stray away from like race. Oh no, race. How do I say it? Just say it. I'll correct you, or someone else will correct you. Like conversation shouldn't stop at just I'm not going to talk about it because I have no way of referring to it. If you never refer to it, then you're never going to know. You need to ask people. You need to keep communicating. If we don't communicate, then nothing's going to get done. You can't just be like, oh, well, I would if I just knew how to talk. See, I know some black people, but I just don't know how to talk to them about some questions. Well, I mean, don't be all, go up and ask them and don't single them out, but try and at least create a form of dialogue, a form of communication between people. That's the best way we can we can tackle the racial issues.
When I talk about race, I don't feel awkward, but I definitely used to because I had all these opinions, and I'm just like this little white girl sitting here with all these opinions. But I guess because I'm involved in SOAR, I just keep talking about SOAR because it's wonderful and anyone watching this should come. I'm not uncomfortable anymore because I know that the conversations we're having are important. The conversations that we're having are necessary, and my perspective is important. I have a lot to learn, but I feel very free to speak how I feel, especially in that context.
I do associate with students of color. Actually, most of my friends are students of color, and I live with students of color, so it's not a problem to me personally.
I do, especially more so now than I ever did in high school. But I think it's interesting.
I do associate with African Americans in and out of campus. I would say Tapio, Benny, Love, Abdi, LaDante, Gerard, Vince Council.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I guess kind of most of my friends here are of color now. I mean, I didn't really think about it, but yeah, like most of my friends are black here, and that's cool. I don't know.
The kid who lives next to me is from Zimbabwe. He's African, so he's black. And I have other black friends.
Yes, I do.
I do associate with some colored people on campus, but in reality, I don't associate with a lot of people. But there are a few that I associate that are like Latino or African Americans.
For me, I feel like it's unfortunate that we even have to ask someone that. Not that I'm blaming you, Brian, of course, and I'm not blaming you, but I feel like it shouldn't be about associating, you know? We shouldn't have to ask that of people, and we do. And like, why associate? You know, it's like I'm associating myself with people, and I don't understand why it's such a problem with people. And for me, it's just a friendship.
I feel like most of the teachers don't treat people differently because of their race, but there are a few that they might not show it like in front of everybody, but there are little things that they do, like the way they talk to you, or how they act towards you if you're asking them a question or emailing them. They would definitely like respond to you in a way that they would not respond to a white student on campus.
I think some of my professors do treat me differently, and I feel like it's usually in the context of they're surprised that I can perform the level of work that I do sometimes.
I personally think that teachers don't treat you differently because of your race.
No, I don't think they do.
No, actually, my English teacher's from Africa, so I feel like he's pretty chill dude.
I don't think any of my professors treat me any differently because of my race. All of them seem to be fair and treat every person in the class as one person and not as different people because of the way they look or because of their race.
I need my cake.
I feel that some professors are more sensitive. They like, when they talk to me, they're like more conscious of like race, and they're like, okay, how do I phrase this not to be too offensive? Like, they pay a lot closer attention to their language. Language is a very strong thing that people don't really think is. People just say words, like throw words out there, and they get really consciously, since people just throw it out there so frequently, it loses meaning. But to them it desensitizes them to the meaning of the word, but the meaning is still there. And if people tend to ignore that, and that's when issues get brought about. So in some cases, I feel they acknowledge that and are very selective on the words that they use. But for the most part here at PC, I haven't really felt targeted at any point in time, or like felt like I was talked down towards by any of my faculty. So it's my opinion, my experience here from faculty interaction has been pretty good.
I've never thought about that question before, probably because I'm white and I've never had to think about that question. question. But when I think about it, I bet they do. Because, well, yeah, most of the professors I've had here are white, so they probably treat me differently in the fact that they identify with me in that way. I think that subconsciously, some not so subconsciously, but I definitely subconsciously am associated with like the white population because of how I look. So people automatically identify themselves with someone else who's white. So I would say if I was put, I'm probably treated differently from someone of a different race or ethnicity.
Yes, I have been singled out because of my race in very ignorant and embarrassing instances, but
Probably, not that I can remember, but I mean, probably I would guess so.
I don't think I've been singled out directly by anyone at the school, like, because of my race. But maybe you could, like, think someone is singling you out by, like, the way they look at you, but, like, in an indirect way, but directly I haven't been personally confronted by anyone. But maybe indirectly I could have thought that someone was trying to imply something, but it didn't come down to a direct racial portrayal by the person.
I have been singled out because of my race. For example, I have to see this person every week, sometimes every other week, because I'm not getting money from him, but he feels as though because I'm Spanish, I need to stick to the people, African Americans or Hispanics, and he feels like he needs to check on my grades and check on how I'm doing in my social life, which is none of his business. But he feels like I have to go and talk to him about it because he thinks that I'm either like unhappy with where I am because I'm surrounded by white people, or because he just wants to feel like he's helping everybody who's black on campus, which clearly he's not.
There was one instance in high school. My friends, I hung out with like a lot of Muslim friends, and then there was a couple of them. One of them, they were all Muslim, but they were like from different regions of the Middle East or like Asia. And then like we met, and then we were gonna go. One of their parents were gonna drive us off to somewhere, and they're like, oh yeah, this is this person, this is this person, this person, and Jose. And then he just like the dad just grilled me down. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? Did I like I didn't even say anything, and already I was getting the look. I was like, that was like the first time it was like I was I was in trouble by just existing. That was like the first real experience I felt of like being targeted at for like no reason at all, just for existing.
I'm lucky enough to have never been singled out for my race, in a bad way anyway. It's never been a negative.
Okay, I do feel singled out. I have to meet a certain guy every week, and then every other week, and then it goes on to every other 3 weeks. And it's because I am non-white, and because I'm struggling in my classes. I'm not gonna lie, not anymore though. But I still have to meet him because of the scholarship. It's a multicultural scholarship, and I just have to meet him because I got that scholarship. So in a way, I'm singled out. Yes.
No, I do not, because it would be the same as asking if I'm intimidated by other people because of what their race is or what they look like, which I don't think is an appropriate kind of question. So I will say that I'm intimidated.
No, I don't feel intimidated by people of the gender.
Intimidated by any black people on campus, so I don't think that's a problem for me personally.
Nah, I don't know why I would be.
I don't feel intimidated because I come from a black neighborhood or African American neighborhood, so it's not intimidating at all.
No, I do not feel intimidated by people of color on campus. They're just regular students. There's no reason for me to be intimidated.
Don't feel intimidated by people of color. One, because I've been raised with people of color my whole life, and two, because I feel like when I'm around with people of color, like I'm around with my own people, so I don't feel like there's a reason for me to feel intimidated or uncomfortable whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. And speaking of FYM, they're doing on Friday fish fry 6:30 in Lower Slavin, shrimp, calamari, and just different types of fish. Free. I'm in this.
Yes, I would be, as a proud member of the Board of Multicultural Student Affairs. Activism Affairs.